second scripture reading comes from 1 Corinthians 2, 1 through 12. When I came to you, brothers and sisters, I did not come proclaiming the mystery of God to you in lofty words or wisdom. For I decided to know nothing except Jesus Christ and him crucified. And I came to in weakness and in fear and in much trembling. My speech and my proclamation were not plausible words of wisdom, but a demonstration of the Spirit and of power, so that your faith might rest not in human wisdom, but on the power of God. Yet among the mature we do speak wisdom, though it is not wisdom of this age or the rulers of this age who are doomed to perish. But we speak God's wisdom, secret and hidden, which God decreed before the ages of our glory. None of the rulers of this age understood this, for if they had, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. But it is written, what no eye has seen, nor ear heard, nor the human heart conceived, what God has prepared for those who love him. These things God has revealed to us through the Spirit, for the Spirit searches everything, even the depths of God. For what human beings know what is truly God's except the Spirit of God. Now we have received not the spirit of the world, but the Spirit that is from God, so that we may understand the gifts bestowed on us by God. As many of you know, I usually am not a big talker, but today's scripture describes me to a T, at least the weakness, fear, and trembling part. And although it doesn't relate much to the sermon or what I want to speak about, the opening hymn does. I'd never heard this hymn before Dr. O introduced it to the congregation, and now it is one of my favorites. Usually Dr. O and Dr. Smith picked out the hymns. I requested this one because it relates to three events that influenced my life, and First Christian Church played a major role in all of them. I grew up in this church, and it, along with my mom and dad, laid the foundation for my spiritual being. We were here most every Sunday, whether I wanted to be or not, and I know many people can name their elementary school teachers, but I can also remember my first Sunday school teacher. She was Mrs. Whitecott. Why I remember her, I don't really know, but she affected me somehow, or maybe I affected her by something I did, and that is why I remember her. My first major spiritual experience was my baptism. There are two things I remember about it. The water was cold, and how I reacted. Not to the water, but afterwards. I felt different. I did things differently than I had before. I tried to control my temper. I tried to treat others better. And I even tried to eat healthier. Now that's pretty difficult for a 10-year-old. I hope I still exhibit these qualities. However, I've always loved fried foods, so I'm still working on the eating healthy part. My point is, if you are raising a young child, a young person, or even helping raise a young person, keep them involved in the church. Plant that spiritual seed, nourish it, and hopefully it grows until they can make wise choices. I know from experience that will not always happen. I stayed involved with youth group, went to church camp, but then came high school graduation. And as the song says, I wandered off. Never really knowing where I belonged or where to look to find whatever was missing when it was right here. I would come back on occasion, but never really felt involved. Got married, had children, brought them here, but never really got them involved. So this is a case of do as I say, not as I do. I don't feel too bad though. Israelites wandered longer than I did. After having grandkids, I started bringing them more often. And then one Sunday, while standing in fellowship hall, a guy who I didn't know very well at the time asked me to think about going to Jamaica on a mission trip. Thank you, Jim Crew, for the invitation. It was a life-changing experience. Again, it was not the act of going, it was how I reacted afterwards. It was how it affected my spiritual life. I had accumulated so much stuff, and the people we met had so little. I've even told people that I had more stuff in my suitcase than they had in their home. But they always greeted you with a smile. They always seemed to be at peace. We were working at a school, building a playground, and there were always children around. It was a pleasure taking a break and playing with them. And one of the best experiences was when Mike was sitting underneath a tree with a bunch of us, and one little girl came up and pulled his hair, put his hat off, and started rubbing his head. I think her name was Princess, wasn't it, Mike? But the most meaningful time of the trip was meeting with a group of ladies when we had a devotion at the work site. They were pleased that we let them speak because in their church, they had little boys. After returning, I started attending Bible buddies on a regular basis. They do not know how much they have helped me on my journey. So get involved in a faith formation class. Go on a mission trip. And by the way, they're not all work. Join a cooking team, but get involved. Lastly, in 2007, my late wife was diagnosed with cancer. I started reading the Bible on a daily basis. It comforted me in a difficult time, as did my church family. The church was also experiencing a difficult time as we were going through our problems. So we were going through our problems together. In 2009, we hired a new minister. And he saw something in me I didn't know I had, or more likely, I didn't want to see. I liked being involved. Being on the fringe was a whole lot more comfortable. He encouraged me to become a part of the leadership of this church. That is when I became invested. Now here I am, trying to encourage you to become involved. A person who wandered and wavered for about 15 years before I really became involved and invested. I hope it doesn't take you as long as it did me. Amen.